it up. And I'm also going to, hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, how's everyone doing? We're here on just in a minute. Hang on. All right, we're here on ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles. And we are with the MerJ program with Mary and Joni. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Mary to say hi and introduce herself and get us started. And then after that, I have asked for Joni to pray us in. You didn't know that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary, and welcome to Summer School on Listening with the MerJ Show on ACIM Gather. This is a program, we're really excited about it. All summer long, we're talking about ACIM and nonviolent communication. And today we're talking about needs and feelings. We have a couple of charts that wherever you're listening, we will make available to you, one on needs and one on feelings. And we'll be talking about those today with Lynn Johnson. I'll turn it over to you, Joni.
All right. Today, what I thought I would do is share with you the prayer of the miracle workers. Some of you hear it every day in our Miracles Live, but for those of you that have not, I'd like to share it with you now. So this is channeled by Maureen Muldoon. Just take a deep breath in, hold, and release. Good morning. Today, we begin by tucking our chins and bowing our heads and knowing that God is all that there is and that we are one with it. We surrender all that we are to all God will have us be. We bow our heads, our hearts, our desires and agendas to God's will. We trust that God knows us and loves us as we make our way home to peace. We trust that we will see miracles where we once saw lack and limitation, and that we will be assisted in solutions where we once saw dead ends. We commit to remembering that we are immersed in God's holy ecstasy and audaciousness, where all things are possible, plentiful, and perfect. We give thanks for another day of miracles and miraculous encounters. And may we always remember that this grace is offered to us not just for our own peace and joy, but so that we may be a fearless extension of God's love. And together, and so it we say, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Joni. How beautiful. And I love that prayer. So what we had talked about, and I'm just going to go over a little bit, and I'm going to actually put this on the screen so that, this way you can hear it and see it at the same time. It really does help to, if you can read along with it or even read it. So we've been talking earlier in the last few sessions about feelings and how when we can recognize our feelings, when we notice our feelings, we can look at the feeling and go deeper into it to really get a good idea of what we're really feeling, what we're really experiencing. And then we can connect that to a need that we have that may or may not be have been met. So when we notice things around us, we inevitably experience varying emotions and physical sensations in each particular moment. Here, distinguishing feelings from thoughts is an essential step to the NVC process. And our needs is what we have been talking about the last week or so, talking about how all of us, every single human, has the same needs. None of us have different needs. They're all universal. So if it seems like something that's not universal, then it's not a need, or we haven't really figured out what it is. Um, when our needs are met, we feel comfortable and happy and peaceful, and when they're not, we become uncomfortable and frustrated and uh, unhappy. And so, if we know that the reason people are not being happy and joyful and having great fun lives is because they have needs that are not being met, we can, it's just say, well, that's life, buddy. Nobody has needs that are being met. Or we can help to identify what those needs are and see how we share those needs and maybe come up with some mutual understanding that can help to uh, overcome conflict. And so so it's important to be able to connect our feelings, our emotions, the things that we feel with our needs. And when we talk about feelings, we're talking about, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm afraid, you know, base feelings like that then can be expanded if we look at them and say, I'm sad because this happened. And then we look at it and we realize, well, really, I'm disappointed, or I feel, you'll have a feeling that is much deeper than just being sad. And then you can look at what need is not being met that made me feel disappointed, or, whatever. I'm not going to go into that right now because we've talked about those kind of extensively in the past. But um, we're going to do, we're going to do a little exercise. I just want you to take a minute and write down a little scenario, and think about something that is upsetting you or has upset you, or has given you a feeling that things are not right. So when you see that, or that's happening, I feel, and you can, I'll put up the feelings charts, the feelings and needs chart that you can look at. But you can, just come up with a feeling. And then when you come up with that feeling, think about, what is my need that is not being met? And so just to kind of refresh, we have this circle of needs. And if you clicked on that link that I put in the chat, you should be able to have this on your desktop, and you can actually look at the chart. I need the chart to be in the middle of the page. That's my need for order and control. Once you start looking at your needs, you start, being able to fan it out and look at, what are the real needs that I have here. So, if I need to feel my own self-worth, for instance, that may mean I want respect, or I need to feel success, or I need acknowledgement or appreciation or admiration, or, you can look at the chart and kind of spread it out and look at what it is that what it's not happening that you want to happen, or that you need to happen in order for you to feel comfortable. That's all we're doing. We're just looking at, I feel this way because this need that I have is not being met, and therefore I am not comfortable or joyful. So if you want to just take a minute and write something down, and then we're going to watch a little video of Marshall Rosenberg. And you can be writing this down while we're watching the video. In fact, I think maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. If we're not moving too fast, I hope. But the exercise, when I see blank, I feel blank because my need for blank is or is not being met. So we go and get the Marshall thing. And share. Why am I not seeing this? Oh, okay, there it is. Wait a minute. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to express? I'm just rattling things off and
Yeah, I have a question. You put up the 7 universal needs. Do you think we could see those again?
sure, let me go find what. Okay, I'm just gonna stop that sharing right now because I get what I'm looking for. And looking at those little bitty screens is not helping. Okay, so the universal needs, and I think I can get that from, can I get that from here? Okay.
Connection, physical well-being, honesty, play, peace, autonomy, and meaning.
All right. Where do you see that? I know it's probably in one of those other.
It's in your document under needs of universal to all humans. Marshall says they're basically 7, and I put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. Yeah, it's right there. Duh. Why was I not seeing that? Okay. Thank you so much, Joni, because I'm getting rattled because I thought my video would come up. There we go. Okay. Now we'll see and hear Marshall. Here's my Marshall. All right. That's all of the speed. And share computer sound, right? Okay.
Okay, the next step then. We do not attribute responsibility for our feelings to the other person. We never say that you make me feel or I feel because you. Instead, we are conscious that the root of feelings are needs. Behind every feeling, there is a need. Now, certain feelings tell us that there is an obstruction in our thinking, that instead of our being directly connected to our needs, we have chosen to go off to Jackal-land. So what are these feelings that tell us that we're not directly connected to our needs? Anger, depression, guilt, and shame. Those feelings are very valuable. They tell us that at this moment I'm not directly connected to my needs. Instead, we are up in our head telling ourselves moralistic judgments about somebody. Anger, we're making moralistic judgments about somebody else. Depression, guilt, and shame, we're playing that game on ourselves. But we're not alive, and as I would define being alive, which is connected to our needs. Yeah.
Do you make a distinction between needs and preferences or desires?
Yes, we make a big difference, as we'll see when we get to the next step now, because needs contain no reference to specific ways of getting the needs met. Those are preferences or strategies or requests. So we make a big difference between needs and between preferences, requests, strategies. So let's get into that. Let's right now connect our feelings with a need. Let's not go up to our head and think about the other person. Let's go into our heart and connect our feeling with our need, because needs give us the most power with people. See, giraffe is based on a power model, power with people. It increases our power with them in the sense that it increases people's willing giving to us, to enjoy giving to us. That's power with people. We have been trained in a power over model, the use of punishment and reward. That's power over people. To get them to do things not because it's coming from their heart and they want to contribute to our well-being or to life. No, they want to avoid punishment or get a reward. So we want to increase power with people. And the most powerful form of communication to do that is to bring people's attention to our needs that are not getting met. When people's full attention is on our needs, they hear no criticism, no demands. It is natural to enjoy giving. But if we hear any criticism or demand, we lose connection with that natural desire to give, and now we want to defend and attack. So let's learn a language of needs. Under C, it says, imagine again that you are talking to the person and express your reasons for feeling as you do this way. When you do what I described, I feel as I expressed because I am needing or because I need. See? So now see if you can identify what need of yours is not getting met. Leave the word you out of here, because that will mix up need and preference. Leave the other person out of here. Just express the need without reference to the other person. All needs are universal. Every human being in the world has the same needs. So you can look at what you said and see whether this applies. You see. So if what you wrote down is a true need, every other human being in the world has that need. We're all created out of the same energy. So we really see this at the level of needs. All human beings have the same needs. What differs immensely is the strategies that we have been educated in for meeting the needs. Different cultures educate people to meet the needs in a different way, but the needs are the same. Who wants to check theirs out? Okay.
To know that you are responsible and honest.
That, notice, brought the other person in there. I have a need to know that you are responsible and honest. How do we express the need without bringing the other person in there? Now, we can bring it in one way. I have a need for your happiness, for your protection. We can say that. Okay. But not the way you're saying it. Yes?
I need to be seen and heard as who I truly am.
I have a need to be seen and heard as who I truly am. Okay?
Now, I have an impulse to qualify that and to say free.
To be
Free.
I have a need to be.
The last word in that sentence is who I truly am, free.
I have a need, who I truly am, to be free. Yes, that's a need we all have. The important thing will come out when we get to a request, because that's a request that only you can meet. Other people can't do that. They can't meet that need. So if you don't know how to meet it for yourself, for freedom, you won't have that need met.
I'm feeling a bit frustrated because I'm noticing that everything is a strategy. In other words, mine is a need for an aesthetic environment. But underneath that, there is a need for serenity. And my serenity doesn't come from the environment. So this entire request, starting at A, is a strategy to get something called serenity.
Okay, that's a need then. I have a need for certain peace, but isn't there a need in there for certain aesthetics that will...
Right, but it crumbles the house of cards for me of wanting the sink not filled with dirty dishes.
Help me understand that. Why wouldn't the, if you have a need for serenity...
But serenity doesn't come from a clean sink.
Okay, then we haven't got the right need then. Or the right, then it's not that you want the sink cleaned out.
But I'm projecting that need onto the sink, thus onto a behavior of someone else.
Well, the other person's behavior can be getting in the way of our need getting met. If the dishes aren't done, it could be some needs of yours are not being met by that. Then you have to identify what the needs are that are not getting met.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure that I'm not basing an assumption that by having that sink clean that I'm going to have serenity, and I think it's a false distinction.
Well, the nice thing about being clear about our request is we can test it out. If I say, for my need for serenity, I'd really be grateful if you would clean up the sink. The person does it, and I'm still not serene. Okay, that helps. I know that doesn't work. See, we never really know what we want until after we get it. If after we get it, it makes life more miserable, then we know that isn't what we wanted. If it makes life more wonderful, then we know that is what, a strategy that will meet our need. That's what makes life fun. We never know what we want until after we get it. That's why Paul Tillich, the theologian, says that Christianity requires the willingness to sin courageously. You ask for what you want, hoping to meet your needs. You get it, it makes life worse. Okay, now I've learned that isn't what I want. Wouldn't it be boring to know what is right?
That's good.
Yes.
When you do what I described, I feel as I expressed because I need respect and acknowledgement, and I need to be able to feel safe in my job environment.
I hear needs in there. Yes.
When you do what I described, I feel as I expressed because I need to express my desire and need without it hurting you.
No. Now we
No?
got a bunch of stuff
Oh,
in there. If you want to avoid hurting other people, the only way I can offer you to do that is to become a nice dead person.
yeah.
Because if other people have jackal ears, they can get hurt if you have heartburn.
So would I just cut off that second half? Just, I need to express my desire and need?
Yes, and then what you want to say to yourself, and I want to learn to enjoy your pain.
Ooh.
Which
Whoa,
is, we're going to show you
enjoy.
after lunch how to enjoy the other person's pain.
Ooh, that sounds...
It's one of the most loving things you can do, you see. If you, as I will define it, obviously, I don't mean in a sadistic way. Yes.
So I have a couple of them working on. One of them is because I have a need for predictability.
I have a
in
need
my
for
daily schedule.
predictability. Okay.
And the other one would be because I have a need for privacy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My need is for comradeship and acknowledgement of my comradeship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a need to memorialize the life of your father, and in doing so, honor the life of your entire family.
Have a need to honor this life. Yes.
I have a need to have communication with other people that is open and supportive of life.
Need for supporting of life, openness. Okay. Mm-hmm.
When you do this, I feel hurt because I have a need to be heard and understood.
Yes, very important need. That need for understanding, to be heard, to be listened to, empathy. There's different ways of expressing it, but it's a critical need, one that we have daily. Daily, yes.
Bottom line, I have a need to love you and to let your love in.
I have a need to love, but don't bring the other person in there.
To let.
I have a need for love, to love
and to let love in.
and to let love. Yes. See, our needs don't, when we believe that our needs involve another person doing something, we take a very abundant world and make it scarce very quickly. So we don't want to mix up our need and a request. See, we may have a request, a strong request, that a particular person meet our need for love. See, that's a strategy. We may want this particular person, but we don't have a need for that person to love us. That's mixing up the need and the request. We have a need for love. We have a strong preference that this person take the actions to meet that need. But we don't want to mix up the need and the strategy. Okay.
Okay, so that was Marshall Rosenberg, and he was talking about, obviously, about the difference between needs and strategies and how feelings drive our needs. So before we watch the video, I asked that you make a little example of something in your own life that says, I feel this because I need this. And of course, we don't go into, how I need it or what I needed to do to help me or whatever, but just look at, I feel connect your feeling to a need. So does anybody have an example or something that they'd like to share?
Lynn, can you put that statement back up on the screen?
I sure can. Let's see, where was I? Oh, I need to go back and get that. That's the one thing about this sharing thing is you have to make sure you have the thing that you want to share up. But I'll learn. Okay, there we go. Here we are. Okay. So there we go.
I can share my needs.
Sure.
Just the need part, right?
Yeah, the feeling and the need. So I feel, what do you feel, and then what is the need that is driving that feeling?
Okay, I feel anger and despair because my need for self-worth, belonging, importance, and appreciation is not being met.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is perfect.
That's really helpful to figure that out too.
Yeah. It's a surprise. Anybody else? Joni?
I feel angry and frustrated because my need for security is not being met.
Yes. Yeah, I think those are real needs and real, real feelings and real needs that make perfect sense to me. I don't know anybody who would disagree with that if they were, if that need for security was not being met. Who else?
I'll go. I feel scared because my need for I guess peace is not being met. I feel scared because my need for peace is not being met.
Sure. I mean, you don't have to give any details about, but being afraid because your need for peace is not being met. That's something that gives you a direction of where you need to go to not feel afraid. I love it. Thank you. Anybody else?
Maybe we could get Oksana up on up to speed. Is that her? She was going to join us.
There she is. Yeah. Can you hear us? Oh, you're muted. I can't unmute her.
Oksana, we're talking about feelings and needs, and we're thinking of a situation, a scenario where we have a feeling, and we're just sharing, I feel blank because my need for blank is not being met.
So, and Mary just went with saying that I feel, did you say you feel angry because or scared, you afraid, scared because your need for peace was not being met? And who had their hand up? I just saw somebody had their hand up.
That was me. I put my hand up. It's Amy. Hi.
Hi, Amy.
I feel anger because my need for connection is not being met.
Very, very good. And when we're looking at these feelings, I love that we're going, and of course we're looking at ones that are pretty much low on the chart. Maybe explore that anger and look at it and see what other depth there is to it. Because it could be, you feel anger, and then you look and you say, well, I feel disappointment, or I feel regretful, or there may be some other feeling that's even deeper than just anger, that kind of can connect you even deeper with what the need is that's not being met, and how it is, because we are going to go into strategies, not really strategies for how the need is getting met, but requests that we can make, or ways that we can ask to be given, or what it is that we think we need in order to be at peace, or to be happy or joyful. So it's we're just right now we're just looking at the feelings and the needs. But can you repeat that again, what you said?
Yeah, I also was just going to ask you, when you sent out that graph that shows all the different variations of the one emotion, was that by email?
I did not send that out. So
okay,
if you
I'll
didn't
check my email for it. I have
I
feel
sent it to you by email, Amy.
by email. Okay, thanks, Mary. I'm just going to look it up so I can be a little more specific than
I
anger.
think
but
I
put-
called it needs and feelings.
I think you did too. I'll look that up. I feel anger because my need for connection is not met, but I do feel like there would be a more specific, but I just don't have that chart. So I'm going to pull that up on my computer and I'll come back to you.
Yeah, and the reason, that it's so good to do that, because if you're thinking anger, just think about what that is in your body, and your your little amygdala gets going, and I'm really angry, but you're not really feeling maybe that depth of emotion. Maybe it is something that it may be just as deep, but it may have a different focus, once you can dig into it. Because if, say for instance, I feel disappointed that I didn't get to go to my kids' house for a holiday, because my need for connection with them was not being met. And I can look at that and recognize, well, there are other ways that I could be connected. And of course, then you go into all the different ways that you could experience that connection, even though you couldn't make it for that particular holiday. So the disappointment, you may have been upset, angry, whatever, but then you can look at that disappointment and think, why was I disappointed because I didn't get to go be with my kids? Do I not feel the love of my children with me all the time? Do I not feel the am I not experiencing my connection to them in some way? Is there something missing in my connection? If I'm not experiencing my connection, what is it that I need to do to experience that connection? And it may not be anything that has to do with actually, calling or writing or anything. It could just be a recognition that feeling of disconnection and that disappointment and sadness because of it is really our feeling of disconnection with God, and really our feeling of disconnection with our brothers as the holy sons of God. And this is why when you are doing this with the Course of Miracles, you may come up with strategies that could fix it in the worldly way. But if you can look at it and see it in, what is it really that's happening here? And you have a better understanding of why you're feeling these things, then you can look at what is the need, what is the real need that is not being met. And when it comes down to all of this, the real need is really that connection to my source and to my family, my brothers, my sisters, and so you then once you come to seeing how that's true in so many situations, you can you can actually come up with a remedy for it, because then you can work on becoming more connected or experiencing more connection. Anybody else? Amy, let's see. How do we put your hand down?
Yeah, I don't know I can't find that email, and I wondered if it would be possible to put that chart up to help people identify what it is that the actual feeling would be.
Sure, let me go and get that.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to do
Great suggestion, Amy, because I looked at it just now, and it really helped to identify, to take out my fear and bring it down to overwhelm for my situation. So if anybody else would like that, it's a chart, a colorful chart of feelings.
Okay.
And then we also had the chart of needs. If anybody else would like it, just let me know and I'll email it to you.
All right, and I'm going to put it in the room on the, hopefully right
Like
now.
it too. Can I write my email in the chat?
Yes, yeah, sure, Jen. Can you see that now? Is it showing on the share?
Yep, it's showing. And if you're on a small computer or a phone, you can squeeze it out with your fingers and make it bigger.
Yeah, that's.
Thanks, Jen.
So yeah, so maybe while you're kind of teasing that out, anybody else have anything? Dennis, did you have anything you want to share?
Yes, and that is I have a need for certainty. And I see the ridiculousness in that need. And I'm trying to say that politely. I'm in the same boat as Mary. I do have a need for peace, and that is always. But that kind of correlates with what Joni said, and I'm a little bit unsure exactly what she said, but I'll go into the security, the financial, my own stuff. But in reality, I don't have any of that. In reality, I do have security. I do have money in the bank, blah, blah, blah. I have a need to stay present. So I don't know if that makes sense, but more than anything else is like certainty that I know that everything is going to work out in the end. And experience tells me that it does. But anyway, it creates unpeace. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I do relate with what Mary was saying and also what Joni was saying. I kind of have a little bit of the both.
Yeah, it's a trust thing. I mean,
yes,
that's the whole thing, is that trust. And for just think that we have an opportunity to really work on developing trust and knowing how that works. And from our studies of A Course in Miracles, it's hard to even imagine what people can trust in when the world itself seems so uncertain. So yeah, trust would settle all problems now, it says in A Course in Miracles, and it's true. I believe.
Lynn, we have Oksana and Jen's hands up.
Oh, okay. I think Oksana had hers up first. So Oksana, you want to go? You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, I hope you can hear me because I'm still navigating this on a screen. To me, it feels like abandonment, that disconnect. If I'm excluded, I immediately go to abandonment, which is an old issue, and that brings a whole lot of desperation and depression with it.
Beautiful. Yeah, that feeling of abandonment. I mean, that is a very common feeling that we all have too, isn't it? And why is it? Because we don't know what to trust, and so thank you. That's wonderful, and deep, and also to be looking. Joni and I were talking a little bit before the call. When you have those kind of feelings, and Jen will recognize this, you can go looking at, when was the first time I had that kind of feeling about myself? And, it could be that, I know for me, I've had a real issue with abandonment, you know, and now I find out as I go along that there are much deeper issues. But the first time I could recall that feeling was when I was a little kid and I went with my sister. My older sister had to take me along with her on her dates because she had to babysit with me. And so she and her friends took us out to out in the woods. We lived around in Leadville, which is like a kind of a rural area. And the boyfriend said, "Oh, I think I saw a bear over there." And so my sisters and her friends, they said, "Oh," they parked the car and they said, "We're going to go look for this bear." And they locked the doors and they just said, "Stay in here and don't come out because there could be a bear out there." Well, I think I was probably 4 years old. You know, I was freaking terrified. And they didn't come back for a long, long, long time. And so that whole time here, I was thinking, you know, my sister was eaten by a bear, or, you know, bad things have happened. And, you know, I just had this whole total horror of being abandoned out here in a car in the woods, you know, locked in a car with nobody. So I recognized that. And, you know, the question that you ask yourself, was that really what happened? You know, because really what happened, they came back to the car and they were laughing and joking and, you know, just, you know, having had a great time. And, you know, my whole thing was, you know, I, I was terrified that they were dead. So none of that really happened. It was just a story in the mind of little Lynn. And that story in the mind of little Lynn carried me through my whole life. At any time somebody said, "You wait here, I'm going to go over there," I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm there. I'm not going to stay here. I'm going there. I'm not, you know, my trust was gone. And until I recognized that, you know, I really had this whole feeling my whole life that I was, you know, that I could be abandoned like that. And especially then after I figured out that they were really having a good time and I was terrified, you know, that made me pretty angry too. So, you know, when you have these thoughts, you can go into them and look at, you know, where did this come from? And as you begin to look at that, you recognize, you know, the problem, the real problem that has put us in this situation where we're constantly looking for peace and security, and, you know, for somebody to wash the dishes. That guy in that Marshall Rosenberg, I was like, wash the fucking dishes yourself, idiot. You know, don't sit and be at peace because somebody else isn't washing the dishes. If it brings you peace to have a clean sink, wash the dishes. But, you know, I wasn't there, and, you know, that was not Marshall's thing. Anyway.
Jen's got her hand.
Jen, go ahead. Did that answer your question, Oksana, or was that helpful to you at all?
Thank you so much, because yes, it did remind me of a childhood thing. I was under 6 years old and my sister was older, but anyway, we had friends on the block, and they had, how this popped into my memory is just bizarre. You triggered something. But a couple little girls on the block invited us to a tea party on their back porch, and when we got there, they said, "But it's only for Teresa, my sister. So you have to go home." And wow, you know, childhood stuff just really to this day, children or things against children or disappointed children is really heartbreaking to me. So that's that I've been triggered by that and what you said, and now I know what I'm working with.
Yeah. This is how deep this work is so good, because it really does bring about some vision, really. Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, before you were talking about, like, if it's anger, to look below that, and I realized that my anger is really abandonment and betrayal. And I'm right there with Oksana because mine comes from being excluded also. And mine is about a party also. And kind of being excluded out of this party thing made that's where my anger came out of, and then I'm just realizing it's actually that feeling of abandonment, and then realizing that's the thing that I've had my whole life that I've carried with me. That's the thing I've had to heal around continuously for years, and it's just funny that I could get angry and forget that it's because of my belief in abandonment about myself. So it's really helpful to kind of to identify those feelings.
Yeah, so what is the need then? If you're looking at, of course, the need is not to be abandoned, but that's not really the needs that we're talking about. You felt like you were abandoned, and there's so many. I mean, what do we look around and say? God, why did you abandon me? I think that's what they said Jesus said on the cross, which is not true, but you know that whole feeling of abandonment comes directly from this belief that somehow or the other God just left us off in this crazy place and this crazy planet, and we're here. We have to somehow survive, and the needs really are what our mind is telling us we need for survival. So if your idea is that of abandonment, then what have you done? And I'm not asking you just to volunteer to tell me. I'm just saying, what have you done in your life to try to meet that need so that you didn't get abandoned again? That you didn't get, what do you do in your life? What kind of behaviors do you do in your life? And what kind of strategies do you use in your life to try to keep yourself from being abandoned again? And when you start seeing the craziness of that, it gets a whole nother depth of weird. So, Oksana, did you want to speak again? Your hand is still up.
No, thank you. But it does trigger again, I'm expounding on this idea, and I'm remembering the things that I have done to ensure or avoid being excluded, or in other words, satisfying others, people pleasing, even past the 0 to 6, not to be not to disappoint others.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see a lot of strategies that you use and have used your whole life to come up with, how to keep this from happening to me again, or to I mean, it's pretty crazy. I know for me, I look back at my past, interactions with people and see, geez, if it wasn't that it was just universal, it would be embarrassing. If I thought I was the only one that had those feelings, I would be mortified. But I recognize that these are universal. These feelings and these needs are universal as long as you're in a body and a world. Let's see, Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, so after reviewing the chart, I'm having a bit of a hard time pinpointing one. So I'll change my statement to say, I feel indignant, resentful, and disrespected because my need for well-being and peace, my needs for well-being and peace are not being met in this particular situation. So I don't know if we're supposed to try to just come up with one, but I feel like I'm across the gamut of all of those.
Yeah, no, whatever you're feeling is what you're feeling. And then again, look at, what indignant, what is it that you're indignant about? Because you think things should be one way and they're not. They're some other way. What was the other ones that those are some pretty serious, much deeper feelings than saying that you're angry. And that's
it was resentful and disrespected. So yeah, it's very helpful for me to pinpoint a little bit more. Anger just didn't feel right. That's why I wanted to see the chart again. Mm-hmm. And indignant and resentful and disrespected definitely are much closer to the feeling than anger. So that was helpful. And I do feel all three fit this particular situation. And I also changed it from connection because it was in regards to what someone else had done. And that also doesn't seem to fit anymore with those. And I've changed it to well-being and peace are the needs, actually.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, do you see now how that changes things? And then you're, looking at what is about this that makes me feel not at peace? What is it about this that makes me worry for my well-being? You can look then and see the deeper thoughts that you have about it. Because really it's, we're not here to try to change your, fix your situation. We're really here to look at our thoughts about the situation and to change our thoughts about the situation so that we can be at peace. And, I keep going back to that text chapter 5, section 7. I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. When you can look at that, you can really look at, here's the reason. And, disrespected, where did you have that idea of being disrespected in your life? And look back at, all the things that have reminded you that you were disrespectable. If that, I mean, that's not a word, but, it really means that you think that you could be disrespected. You think that that it's possible that what you are could be seen as something else, something different. Because obviously, if people see you as you are, as the Christ, then they would be treating you much differently. You would be having a much different experience, and you would not be having those kind of feelings. So really, it's coming down to, this is the truth of what I am, is really what I need to turn to when these situations come up. Not these stories that I've told myself my whole life about my worth, my value, what do I deserve treatment wise? It can shift you entirely. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share?
This is Mary. I just want to bring up a point that we're tenderly and very vulnerably talking about some deep wounds right here. And I just want to remind people something that I did when I brought up a lot of my old wounds is to remember that oftentimes we were dealing with people who forgot who they were. They weren't in touch with the fact that they're the light. And they were basically cries for love. They were not acting out of love at that point, either from the past or present. And when we're not acting out of love, we're cries for love. And so in some ways, when we are cries for love as people, all bets are off, and anybody and everybody could be our victim. So that's just helped me to have a little compassion, and also to remember that as we acknowledge our wounds, we're bringing up areas of toxic behavior. And when we look at those with the Holy Spirit, it can bring a little bit more compassion for ourselves and for others. So that's it.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, that is beautiful, because yes, that is when we start really experiencing compassion, because we're really seeing, this is when Philo or Plato, whoever said, be kind because everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. This is what they're talking about. We're in places where we, if we haven't done this kind of deep work or not doing this deep work, we might not see, and we might just be in hell. I found for me, the more I do this work, the more out of hell I get, and the more in joy I become. So does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? We have a couple minutes left.
I just quickly want to add, sometimes when I'm trying to analyze, which my ego loves to do, what my feelings are or my needs are, like it's either love or a call for love. Often for me, it is being right in control versus not accepting what is. And, you know, that seems to resonate as a pattern. And I don't need to really find out where it started. I think it's always been there. So.
But you might be surprised, and we talked about that. You might go back and look at that stuff and go, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
and it's easier to let it go when you can actually
Okay.
working
Right.
But I'm not.
You're right, because then sometimes when I make it too simple, then it comes up again, and I need to love where it first happened so that I can truly let it go. Maybe. I'll let you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing you put in your bag to carry with you. You've been carrying it with you your whole life.
Yeah.
We're just going to let
have
go
it.
of all that stuff. Let go of it. All right, you guys. Well, I just want to thank you all for being here with us, and welcome. Come back next Wednesday. And
well, I know people are leaving. I have a song if you'd like.
Sure, I'd love to have a song. Get it on there. I'll stop my sharing so we can see each other's shiny faces.
And if people want to leave, oh, you got to let me. You got to let me.
Oh, I got to turn you into the hostess with the mostest.
Thank you guys for letting me be a part of the group today. It was very helpful.
Yeah, come back next week. It's